Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to what will certainly prove to be an insightful discussion about the importance of ethical leadership, especially in times of crisis, socioeconomic crisis, such as the COVID-19 pandemic situation from which we are currently suffering. My name is Fadi Saab. I'm chairman of TransCapital Finance, but today I'm pleased to be wearing my WBAF hat as president of the Ethical Governance, Standards of Excellence, and Quality Leadership Committee. It is my honor to welcome a distinguished panel of prominent participants who, over the next 90 minutes, shall share with us their valuable views about the importance of maintaining the highest standards of moral behavior, especially in face of the tough negative environment resulting from coronavirus on people's general health, social habits, and business activities. The executive chairman of WBAF, Mr. Baybars Altuntas, shall kickstart our debate with his welcoming speech, followed by open discussions with the third president of the Republic of Croatia, His Excellency Professor Ivo Josipović, the former Deputy Prime Minister and former Petroleum and Industry Minister of Qatar, His Excellency Abdullah bin Hamad Attiyah, the former Deputy Prime Minister and former Education Minister of Portugal, His Excellency Antonio Couto dos Santos, the Minister of State for the Protection of Entrepreneurship of Albania, His Excellency Edouard Chalsi, and the former Digital Economy Minister of Tunisia, His Excellency Nouman Fehri. Before I start, allow me just to tell you a little bit about our committee. We are really honored to have such a impressive board members group. Two of our board members could not be with us today. The Minister of Youth and Sports of Chad and the President of the National Science and Technology and Development Agency of Thailand. They send you their best regards. Our committee has an impressive also group of executive members and a very large number of membership at large from the WBAF community. And I invite you to join us on the website of WBAF to understand more about what we do and hopefully participate with us in the activities that we undertake. The mission of this committee is to promote WBAF's corporate culture ideologies within the focal principles of a robust circle of trust. We intend to contribute by enhancing key foundations encompassing individual and communal actions based on the principles of ethical governance, which are regulated by an honorable code of conduct, standards of excellence, which are governed by virtuous core values, and quality leadership, which are motivated by exceptional behavior drivers. We support the active engagement of all stakeholders by facilitating access to necessary resources, permitting proper multidimensional adherence to our mission goals, and we encourage the universal entrepreneurship ecosystem to endorse these essential standards and adopt a practical path for the successful global implementation. The event today falls right within these identified outreach objectives, and what a better way to inaugurate our formal activities than by welcoming the visionary entrepreneur and successful angel investor who single-handedly founded what I always refer to as the United Nations of WBAFers, a leading business organization with more than 500 members from 115 countries, and still counting. So, Baybars Bey, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, dear President. And I'm welcoming His Excellency Professor Josipović, the third President of Croatia, Deputy Prime Minister of Portugal, Protection and Entrepreneurship Minister of Albania, dear former Deputy Prime Minister of Qatar, and former Digital Economy Minister of Tunisia. WBAF, World Business Angels Investment Forum, as an affiliated partner of the Global Partnership for Financial Inclusion, GPFI, has three main missions: promoting gender equality, easing access to finance for entrepreneurs, and increasing financial inclusion globally. We are advocating the importance of startup economy at the G20 level. On Friday, we are going to, for example, I'm going to join the second meeting of 2020 of GPFI next Friday under the presidency of Saudi Arabia. And this year, G20 gave very importance to three important issues: digital inclusion of women entrepreneurs, digital inclusion of young entrepreneurs, and digital inclusion of SMEs. As a matter of fact, it was a very correct decision to highlight the importance of digital inclusion, because after Mr. COVID started traveling around the world, we understood the importance of digital inclusion very much. Today, we are talking about how we can increase digital inclusion so millions of students who don't have access to computer, internet, and digital tools can also reach online education. 2 billion unbanked people in the world can reach online health education. And these are now the main issues I think all policymakers in the world should care and develop innovative solutions in cooperation with entrepreneurs to these challenging issues. WBAF's ethical standards, ethical governance standards of excellence and quality leadership committee is doing a great job. I'm following all agenda items you are following, and thank you very much, dear Fadi, for bringing such kind of a very important group to produce positive impact for the world economy. I think the latest document that the committee produced, bringing the code of conduct for early stage equity markets, will be also something very interesting. So this webinar is an innovative webinar. You are, as a matter of fact, opening the doors of your board to public, and this webinar is also different than the other 15 webinars, by the way, of the WBF. This is the 16th one. First time a committee organized the webinar from scratch to this moment. And this is really great, because we are now able to follow the WBF's main agenda by using our HR team more efficiently. So thank you very much, Fadi, for organizing this webinar completely with your team. Dear President Josipović, dear Deputy Prime Ministers, dear Ministers, I am thanking you so much for your engagement with WBAF mission, and I am leaving the floor to dear Committee President Saab. And thank you very much again for joining us. And my message to our audience, I think you will find a rewarding experience by joining this webinar. Thank you very much again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We appreciate your support and kind words, and we look forward to doing more in order to promote the WBAF mission globally. Excellency Professor Josipović, you have a very interesting career path, combining high-powered political responsibilities as a former parliamentarian, then from 2010 to 2015 as the third president of Croatia, before returning back to university as professor of international criminal law. You are an acclaimed publisher on international criminal law, criminal procedure, and human rights, not to mention your impressive work as music composer, and producing more than 60 pieces for orchestra, chamber groups, and solo instruments. Croatia has definitely impressed the world by overcoming its past historical political isolation, its devastating independence war, and the economic recession it faced by effectively implementing major reforms that secured its successful accession to the EU. So, Excellency, we look forward to you sharing with us your views on the importance of ethical leadership.
Thank you very much. Firstly, thanks for invitation, for possibility to participate in such important meeting. So my experience is not very typical. As you said, someone told that I'm bigamist because I have two loves, law and music. But my third love was politics as well. So I tried to combine my knowledges from three different fields and to serve as best as possible. So when we speak about leadership, it's first, I think it's very clear that there is no one type of leadership. One society in different periods needs different type of leadership. Definitely, I will be not good leader in the time of war. And we had luck that we had president who is very familiar. He was general and he was a really good leader in the war. But later, as president of democratic country, he was not so brilliant, definitely. I'm very proud as a third president, I signed agreement with the European Union, and under my presidency, Croatia became member of European Union, not because of myself, but because of many people who participate in changing Croatia towards European values and promoted many, many reforms. You stressed at the very beginning, because before we started this session, that you would like to hear something from me as musician. So I would like to stress that, naturally speaking, musicians and politicians are enemies. Artists and politicians, in principle, they are enemies, not part of the same social group. But definitely during history, there were some people who were musicians and politicians as well. Some of them were more politicians and the other were more musicians. So I would like to stress or to remember just one of them. It's Polish Prime Minister Penderecki, who was great composer and great pianist, and he was participating in the Versailles, during Versailles Treaty, and he was somehow one of fathers of modern Polish state. I tried during my presidency, during my leadership, because presidents are always good or bad leaders, I tried to follow some historical experience about how can we use music as a way to communicate good messages. For my country and for myself, crisis is permanent situation. We always had some kind of crisis, more or less dramatic. And for me, the most important challenge and most important task for any politician, especially on high level, is to ensure the peace for the country. That's the most important. There is no economy, there is no art, there is no anything if you have war, just killing and suffering. So the most important issue for any politician is to ensure the peace. So during my mandate, I started some peace activities, and I think it was relatively successful. For the first time, Croatia and Serbia had exchange of presidential visits. We visited together mass graves because both Croats and Serbs suffered during the war. And that was period when the relations between two countries were much better than before, unfortunately much better than even today. So when we see about virtues that we expect from musicians or from the politicians, we can find many similarities. Even Plato and Aristotle wrote and spoke about about those virtues. Firstly, he said that musicians and politicians should be capable to listen other people. That's very important. They must be very listen. Then they have to have creativity and vision, especially when you consider conductor of symphonic orchestra as some kind of leader. Definitely, he must have vision. He has authority, and of course, a politician in a different manner must have the same virtue. Then the possibility to have good communication with audience. It's also very important. You cannot imagine any very successful musician without possibility to charm the audience and to perform his or her music in special way, to lead the audience. That's very important. Political leaders should also charm the audience. That means people, colleagues, but it's very dangerous if they may cross the border and become populist. Populism is very dangerous for politicians. It's some kind of shortcut to the heart of the people, but finally you have to pay the bill. You cannot promise great Croatia or great Italy or great whatever, and then to prepare people that you and people are capable to make it. But at the very end, we saw it during the Second World War with Italy, with Germany. The German people and Italian people paid the price of crazy leaders, Hitler and Mussolini. We can find similar situation even today in many parts of the country. Then both politician and musician should have, a leader should have a high level of memory and concentration. It's very important because psychological capabilities are very important to communicate, to have vision, and to organize. That's very important. Great possibility to organize people, to organize events, to organize situations is very important for leaders in politics, in economy, and in music as well. It's very important to understand that the best leaders are those people who recognize that they are not gods, that they cannot know everything, to choose collaborators. That's very important because it's a really big challenge to leader to resist to this crazy idea that becoming some leading position, you became also someone who is untouchable. It's very important to have auto-respectivity, to be capable to understand that you also make mistakes, and to be capable to do something to recover what you did wrong. During my presidential term, I had very important issue. It was really against the majority at the very beginning to normalize relations between Croatia and Serbia, Croatia and Bosnia and Herzegovina. And when I went for the first time to Sarajevo, capital of Bosnia and Herzegovina, in the parliament, I had speech. I said, I'm sorry what happened between Croats and Bosniaks. We were wrong in many things, and now it's time to change the situation. Then a big number of very right politicians said that they are going to ask the parliament to dismiss me from the position of the president. But definitely I had in that time big support, and I was supported by people because people wanted peace. They recognized that the peace is the most important thing. It was relatively similar also when I had the first meeting with President Tadić. We met very surprisingly, for no one knows that we are going to meet, and we just appeared in public. He was very good leader, leading Serbia to European integration, to trying to establish it as a modern state, and he was a really good partner. He was a very good partner, and I always stress that he's person that would like to work with in any case. So I tried to open a reconciliation process, and in that period I was really a leader of that process. I'm happy that now the relation between people on Balkans, especially between Croatia and the other countries, is much better than before my mandate. And I hope that peace will stay as a first topic for all leaders in the region. I also used music as a tool because we organized, we had also one very important dispute with Italy coming from the Second World War. As usual, not just one part was guilty in these massacres during the war and after the war, Second World War. So we reached agreement. We had President Napolitano. He's a really great leader, President Napolitano. We organized in arena, big arena in Pola, concert of Croatian and Italian music for 8,000 people. And we had speech for national, Italian national, Croatian national TV. And after that, we solved a very, very important problem between two countries. I used music in many other cases, as United States and China has ping-pong diplomacy. If you remember, Nixon and I don't remember which one of Chinese president participated. They had so-called ping-pong democracy, the ping-pong diplomacy. I had music diplomacy. And I hope that someone else will continue with music as well. So for introduction, that will be my part of the story. And I'm open for questions and challenges from your and audience side. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very interesting remarks. Some leaders, political leaders, aim to the mind and others aim to the heart and forget the mind. And people who aim to the mind forget the heart. You managed to combine both. And I congratulate you on that. And it's very interesting what you said to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
His Excellency Sheikh Abdullah bin Hamad Al Attiyah has more than 40 years of experience in the energy industry and in a variety of senior leadership positions within the government of Qatar. He was Minister of Energy and Industry and Chairman and Managing Director of Qatar Petroleum before being appointed as Deputy Prime Minister and Chief of the Emiri Diwan. Among his many responsibilities, he also served as Chairman of Qatar's Planning Commission, Chairman of the United Nations Commission on Sustainable Development, and President of the Qatar Administrative Control and Transparency Authority. His Excellency Al Attiyah is currently Chairman of the Abdullah bin Hamad Al Attiyah International Foundation for Energy and Sustainable Development and remains an active Chairman of the Board in a number of prominent organizations. Welcome, Excellency, and we look forward to hearing your remarks about the importance of ethical leadership.
Okay, thank you very much, Fadi. I'm very, very happy to join you today and with the other colleagues. I hope so that WBAF can give outlook what the challenge that the world is facing. With my experience for the last 45 years in this arena, I was involved mostly in the energy sectors, but you cannot segregate energy from geopolitics. It's a very, very combined. I've been an experience in how we can see the problem with the whole world. The world is full of problems. With my respect, with politicians and others, and United Nations, and the World Bank, all these international communities, so now for many, many years, they start, to talk, to debate, and they never, with my respect, they never reach, how to, to solve all this challenge. When I was, chairman of the COP18, the climate change climate conference. At that time, the big challenge that I faced is, how to bring the whole world together to implement the Couto agreement. that by 2020, this year, and I was that time, 2011, how to reach the agreement to implement for commitment of the whole world to reduce 20% of the emission. That time it was, a big challenge, because now then I find out it's not, the world is not interesting, mainly in the rare, in the first degree of the climate change, or with the pollution, or it's the interest. The interest is overrule all the others. They close eyes in the pollution, they close eyes in the emissions, and every countries, they believe that their interest is the most important than any issues. I remember when I was meeting with the groups, one of the Asian group whom I meet to debate about the implementation and what we should, all the country should be a part of the agreement. Because that time I was shocked, because I found Russia, America, even Japan, India, China, Russia, the big group, they are not a part of the agreement. One of the Asian minister told me, minister, don't give me gun and ask me to shoot my leg. If I will reduce 20% of my emission, that I mean, I'm a big coal producers. That means I have to close my coal. You know what will happen with the millions of employees and others and so on. And all of them, even the United States, even Russia, even all the other big parts, and China, they are not, really, they see it that if they committed, they will create another big problem, social problem, employment, and other things. Also, we find out that, even when I was chairman of the Sustainable Development Committee in the United Nations 2007, also we faced all this challenge of the whole world. The rich countries and the poor countries. The countries that they have everything, and the other countries, they don't have anything. And I find that time that almost more than 1.5 billion people, they have no access to modern energy at all. And still they are left in, cutting the wood, still, they never even see a light. And this is the debate why, how the rich countries can dominate in, to help this countries and these people, to have access to a modern energy. It will save the whole world also from cutting wood and the changing of and the climate change. All this, I believe that human beings are destroying their own universe. Also, the third things that we have to tackle, corruption. I know corruption is the biggest enemy to the whole world. We can see in Africa, Middle East, Asia, even in Europe, even in North America, South America, Central America, the corruption is spread all over. And is the most dangerous when the corruption comes from the top. Then this is the most dangerous. If only come from the down, then the top, and the top are not corrupted, then they can eliminate it. But if you see most of these countries in the world, are very corrupted, politically, the military, all this, how to control the whole countries by either, and democracy is also, it's a big challenge. Everybody talk about democracy, but in their own ways. We can see that how military, control many countries, either in many different countries, especially in Africa and Middle East. This is one of the challenges that they don't allow you even to talk, and who dare to talk. Even the energy sector, I remember I organized a big meeting in Qatar with the World Transparency Organization. And the title is Corruption in the Energy Sector in the world. And we know that there are a lot of rich, many countries, they have huge gas, oil, a lot of, even gold, diamond, everything. But they are very, very corrupted. and the most nations are very, very poor. This is a challenge, once in my speech, and the the Sustainable Development Committee conference in New York, I say the problem, there are people die from eating because they eat overeating, and people die because they don't have food, and they never, and they say that this is, the way that how we can challenge, I explain also, the way, and I like this joke, and I say it every time when I have this challenge. I say there is a joke. The joke is saying, please tell us your opinion about the shortage of food in the rest of the world. Again, I will say it. Please tell us that the United Nations ask the whole world this question. Please tell us your opinion about the shortage of food in the rest of the world. The first inquiry came from Latino. What it means, please. Second came from Middle East. What it means, opinion. Third, it comes from Africa. What it means, food. The fourth came from Europe. What it means, shortage of food. And finally, the Americans said what it means, rest of the world. So this is the way in how, we can see it, It's really, I love to tackle issues that we don't mix issues, together. If you mix issues together, talking about investment, talking about, okay, the good also in the investment side, I'm a man who believe, to invest. I'm the man who came, when I became a minister. The time it was a big war between national oil companies and international oil companies. And then I said, it's time to stop this war. We need them and they need us. We need their technology, their marketing, and they need our reserves and our oil and gas, but in equal right. And we said that if you don't beat me, join me. So this is what the next, after I was touring to see all international oil companies in Europe, America, and others, saying, to them, we are willing to hear good, ideas, how we can to develop, our mission. In that time, Qatar has discovered back in 1971, the biggest non-associated gas field in the world, with more than 900 TCF, approved reserves. But the time was a shock, because Shell discovered this oil field, but it was shock. It's gas, not oil. Anyway, when I became a minister in 92, we are zero production of gas. But still the gas takes some interest in the whole world because of the environmental and clean energy and so on. So, but how we can do it, how we can develop it, how we can, to create a coalition or even a joint ventures, with the big companies, and how we can find the market. And this is a long story. I cannot, now is not the most, but we did succeed, In a few years, we become the biggest LNG producers in the world. Now, what we believe that we adopt a very restricted transparency, laws, either to international oil companies and with Qatar Petroleum, and one of them that they have middlemen or agent or promoter. We don't allow them, and they sign a legal documentary about this, a transparency law. This is very important because now it used to be most of the big in the energy sectors, everyone has or power struggles or military generals or ministers or presidents or all. They are agents or middlemen with oil companies. Now, this is also a very important, to see how to protect the investment also. Now, in Middle East or in Africa or some part of that, you face a high risk in your investment because Next day, you will find somebody take over the investment, or they create some laws to to push you in the corner, or to create an accusation is not true, because the legal system is corrupted and the government is corrupted. So this is also, whatever we see, there are a lot of laws about protection of investment and all the, the international, but still is a big challenge about how to implement, transparency in all the legals, all the laws, and to protect it. Because now in this many countries, they have no systems, no system at all. The system is their own system. They change it, to take over the investment or others. I hope that the WBAF can conduct all this very sensitive, issues, and we can talk loudly about what the world is facing. The world is facing, a lot of challenge. Today, you can see how, the world, small virus as Corona is destroying the whole world, economy and socially. And now how you see now all this they're fighting for a vaccine. Every company, they're pretending or countries pretending they have the vaccine. And even some of them sell it in the papers with billions of dollars. We want also to protect consumers from overrule, of all this international big companies, controlling everything and not allowing everything to be shared with them. And this is also, it's another big challenge. How we can see, you can see the rich, world in Europe or in America and other, joining, all the benefit of the others. Now we're seeing, how in countries, for instance, Africa is a very, very rich continent. They have everything, but they are the poorest continent in the world. Middle East, very rich, but they are, also in the middle of the triple water. It's a very, very confused, very corrupted systems. And also they look to anyone to talk. You don't even dare to talk. And even if you say one word, you will end up behind the sun. No one knows about you. So Fadi, just to see and how to develop, the world business need the stabilization. You need the investment forum also. Now when you say world business angelus, investment forum, that it means the investment cannot just to talk in a way in how to invest, where, who protect you, how to protect your investment. You know that some, even Qatar, invest in some other countries, and in the Middle East countries. We find out even all this investment was disappeared because of the lack of the transparency, and the law is very corrupted. The court is very corrupted. And then it's easy in the Middle East or even in other countries to convert it to be that they're accusing you. You are a tourist, you are you are subsidizing any criminal criminal agenda. They already built it, and they're accusing you to take you this investment. So I think we now. I personally, I'm always care and sensitive about where to invest. When I was a minister, I was looking for what they call it a guaranteed funds. I respect countries; they have a good law, and this is why we insist when we invest in this country sometimes to insist that any dispute go to the international court, not to their local court. So I hope to hear more ideas, more how we can tackle all these issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sheikh Attiyah, for these very worthy remarks. You have certainly left a legacy of exceptional ethical leadership behind you during your long tenure in government. And at the level of WBAF, we certainly look forward to more collaboration between us.
Thank you.
His Excellency Antonio Couto dos Santos is a well-renowned Portuguese politician and successful business leader at the same time, with an impressive experience as former Member of Parliament and several times minister with various portfolios, of which I will only select his former positions as Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Education, Chairman of the Board of Administration of the Portuguese Parliament, and Chairman of Wealth Parliamentary Committees. He is currently CEO or board member of several companies and business organizations in the areas of health, environment, renewable energy, and construction. Excellency Dos Santos, as a leader, you have certainly experienced the need to step up and take difficult decisions in face of many crisis situations. Kindly share your views on this topic.
Thank you very much for this invitation. And I'm sorry, but I had last week's very busy, so I took some notes this night, and I followed these notes to avoid to say anything outside of the correctly political. First of all, I would like to express my congratulations to World Forum, namely Baybars and Fadi, for your document, mainly the Code of the Conduct. But the last document is a fantastic document to put this document near to the politicians, not only in the companies and the managers. And these documents, in the right moment, the right time, and could give good contribution to find solutions in the organizations that they are living now. Ethical governance, standard of excellence, and the quality of the leadership are fundamentals for those who have the responsibilities in the organizations. I would like to make my approach on this theme, ethical leadership, an effective tool in a crisis situation, in the base what concerns me and one part of society, the large intervention of the government and the economy and the life of citizens, and the weakness of the leadership in the present situation. I believe to promote core values, standard of excellence for global business environment, and to have a sustainable growth, we should address the contents of these documents to the policymakers, not only to the leaders of the economy and business organizations. We need a political vision. At the same time, we have a business vision. In the fact, the pandemic generated economic and social crisis, compelling the government to assume a new role of intervention in economy, companies, and our life. Generally today, the governments are legislators, regulators, investors, and lenders. It's new. It's a long intervention and a large intervention. They are omnipresent in society. Will it affect the democracy? This is the first question. Yes and not. It depends on the level of education and the culture of the people. This situation, generating a concentration of the power, and what surprised me, it is with the agreement of the companies, unions, and citizens under the umbrella of the public health and economic crisis. It is a law of the fair. All these concern the citizens, but they believe it will be a transition period. I hope. But the question is, can we believe that our leaders are choosing the best way and work in public interest? Do we have ethical governance and ethical leadership? I have some doubts regarding the discoordination of the measures that we assist between countries to combat disease. Today, we need brave leaders with some characteristics: integrity, trust, resilience, sharing knowledge. That's why I recommend a discussion about this theme regarding political decision makers. We have to engage them in ecosystem of the startups and SMEs. We need to include them in our circle of the trust. If you want to have a global business environment based on standards of excellence, promoting a sustainable development, and empower the employees, we should have a political situation, trust, and quality of leadership. We should create professional conditions to impose cooperation and dialogue with the political decision makers, and we should be demanding accountability of their decisions. The vote is not enough to guarantee the rights. In this way, I ask ourselves, what can we do? Several things, like we know. But I'd like to mention 5 things. Dialogue. Dialogue with decision makers, with bilateral organizations. What happens nowadays with third world is incredible. We can't assist without saying anything. Legislative organizations, opinion makers. We need to diffusion these ideas. Networking with the capacity of the members of the WFA to near the governments, organizations, the entrepreneurs, institutions, financial institutions, governments, empowerment, the members concerning the innovation, the science, technology, education and training, the most important. The education should be the most important that we have in the future. The organization should work a lot. Like I say, that Fadi and the chairman support. But the education, I remember, I was some days in one foundation in Qatar, education above all. And they assist a work in third countries with projects, fantastic, with results extraordinary, that they gave the opportunities to the people. This is the right way. This is the leadership. Third, other point, outreach, principle, values, code of conduct, to make a great effort here. Finally, my doubts about ethical leaderships to overcome the crisis in the quality of the politicians, weakness civil society, and belief at the level of the corruption in some countries. This is bad situation, the corruption. My doubts about ethical leadership to reduce the inequalities is when we have in the country selfishness at an economic level and solidarity. Increasing the inequality, we cannot have peace in the world, and we cannot talk in ethics. Ethics should be give the opportunities to create leaders and anywhere. As I said, the president of the Croatia, for each moment, each place, we need leadership concerning the condition of the place. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency Dos Santos, for these great recommendations and your precious support. Our next speaker is His Excellency Edward Chelsea, who, interestingly enough, does not only combine an active political and business career, but is also president of the Albanian Chess Federation, a position that certainly indicates his strong strategic leadership skills. Mr. Minister, you have a varied background in finance and insurance, then as a public official, mayor, parliamentarian, and minister, notably as current Minister of State for Local Government notably as former Minister of State for Local Government and Anti-Corruption Issues. And you are currently Minister of State for Protection of Entrepreneurship, in addition to being member of the EU-Albania Association Stabilization Commission. Kindly enlighten us with your views on the importance of ethical leadership. We can't hear you, Your Excellency.
I hope you can hear me now. Thank you, Sadi, for the presentation. Thank you, Baybars. I feel really honored to be among such distinguished panelists with long experience. As a matter of fact, we're living unprecedented times. And Mr. COVID, as Baybars has named it, caught the whole world by surprise. It caused a lot of confusion, ambiguity, anxiety, uncertainty among well-developed countries, and caught unprepared these international institutions. For a country, small country like Albania, it was not surprised. But as in our private life, it matters what happens to us, but it matters more how we react to it. You presented me as a president of Albanian Chess Federation. As a matter of fact, I was very glad to hear the ex-president of Croatia about the music. I also play mandolin and I do some sports. And I took an advice when I was involved in politics 10 or 11 years ago. And there was an old guy who suggested me that, you know, you may be a good guy with good intentions, but the pressure up there in politics is such that after a while, you may not recognize yourself. And it's different seeing things from the perspective of, you know, people, and completely different from, you know, where we are now. And I guess the whole distinguished panelists have proved the pressure, you know, of being on the high ranking of politics. So I do spend on weekends times on playing mandolin, chess, and some sports, just in order to keep a balance in my mind. You know, it's very important to keep yourself, healthy, mind speaking, I guess. As I said, Mr. COVID took the world unprepared. But it is a good moment to reflect deeply. We cannot handle the challenges we have ahead, as it was shown with Corona, with the same level of thinking or the same institutions we have. We've seen now, and we've been very careful on following what other countries did to cope with Corona. We've seen leaders being successful, but we have seen also leaders missing the opportunities. Honest communication and honest action was required at such times. We've seen leaders disappear. We've seen leaders being present, visible, and talking to people. In time of crisis, it's like with our personal life. I repeat, it comes out the truth about who we are and what we are made of. But it's important in such moments to have leaders who can understand the situation and analyze the information. Unless you realize what's happening, you cannot handle it properly. But on the other side, as it was shown with COVID, the urgency was to be taken into consideration. None of the leaders had much time to analyze properly what was happening. But what distinguished one leader from an ethical one was the fact that how were they approaching? You cannot avoid mistakes, and we all have proved it, and we all been proved that it's impossible to avoid mistakes when you're leading, when you are in high ranking positions. But accountability, clarity, and consistency of what you're doing is of paramount importance. All people's eyes are on leaders at times of crisis. When there is no crisis, leaders are not very visible. But in times of crisis, the clarity of the leaders impacts the way people react. So it was very important at such times to show leadership through clarity and through consistency. But it's very important also to understand that unless you lead with empathy, you're not going anywhere. I'm a minister for protection of the entrepreneurship. It's quite a paradoxical title because I'm with one leg on the entrepreneurship and one leg on the governance. This position, which is temporary as a ministry, is due to the reforms we having in Albania. But as Deputy Prime Minister of Qatar rightly mentioned, unless you have a proper justice system, nothing is going to be accomplished. So we're reforming the education system, we're reforming the energy sector, we're doing several tough reforms at the same time. But on top of that, we took a decision some years ago not to reform the system, but to knock it down and to build a new one from the beginning through a very vetting process. It's not easy at all. It's very, very difficult process. But we are very convinced that unless we build up a proper justice reform, all these other reforms will go in vain. And that's why I exist, because little by little the institutions are being built up. So I have to protect the business from my own government. But what we do on a daily basis is I pay visits almost on a daily basis to the businesses. I go at their premises. They come in my office. When I took complaints and I deal with complaints of the entrepreneurship, I try to understand if it's a legal problem, institutional problem, it's lack of will, it's corruption. And I draw a conclusion after meeting so many businessmen and traveling all over Albania that corruption, it was not the biggest problem in Albania, as sometimes it was told. The problem was ignorance. I saw institutions distance from the businesses. The way they were communicating, although they were speaking the same language, Albanian, they were not understanding each other. They were speaking, on different, let's say, language. So we try to understand what is going on and why it's not functioning, why it's functioning. But unless, as I said, you listen, it was correctly mentioned before, to the people, in my duties, to the entrepreneurs, which as a matter of fact, in many occasions, are far better prepared than the public administration is. Sometimes the bureaucracies are driving the institutions with a pace which is far beyond the entrepreneurs. I'm learning every day from them. But to lead with empathy and to put yourself in other shoes, it helps you to better understand and also better options for the solution of their problems. Talking about chess, I sometimes, when I'm stressed, late evening, I play some chess. I see some news. I analyze some of the biggest matches. In chess, as in other sports, or chess is sports is art, unless you have a passion, a strong passion for the game, you're not going to do much. So passion is needed to transform the country and the institutions. But you need to have big ambition. Unless you compare with what's the best we can reach and higher expectation. You may go, you may not, but it's worth trying. Hard work. In the time of the Corona, we had very limited times for sleep. Hard work is needed. And people understand, you, not just by the words you say, but by the action you do. And unless they see you having a fighting spirit in chess, the best players have a fighting spirit. They fight till the end. They may not win the game, but they do their best to win the game, to win the game. We, we are testing ourselves in this time, but it's a good momentum to deeply reflect on education. And I will, as it was rightly mentioned, education, education, education. Most of the problems which are facing now are due to the lack of understanding what was going on. And we saw how important is to invest now on innovation, science. We need the health system, and we understood, let's say, how important was when the corona was among us. Well, it's you know, things may happen unexpectedly, but it will not be a second chance unless we draw the right lessons. And we have a lot to learn. And I find it quite interesting. And I want to congratulate and thank you deeply for making me part, because through your platform, I've been in touch with some very well-educated people. We need to listen to each other. We need to communicate with each other, because we have a lot to learn from each other. And in this case, we saw that Mr. COVID is all over the world, and it cannot be tackled by individual countries. We need a global strategy on fighting such viruses. Viruses today, tomorrow we may not know, but with the level of thinking and the institutions, international institutions, unless we redesign them, unless we reform deeply them, probably we need some new institutions. Probably we don't need some old ones anymore. But the fact is that this pandemic has brought to our attention that there are some individual fights, but there are some global fights. And for these global fights, unless we put the efforts together, we're not going to go far. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Chelsea, for your great leadership and continued defense of entrepreneurship, which is definitely a high benchmark for others to follow. Thank you. Excellency Naaman Fahri, you are an international ICT reformer and a Tunisian startup ecosystem leader. As former Minister of Information and Communications Technologies and current CEO of BIAT Labs, which is launched by the first privately owned bank in Tunisia, BIAT. Since you entered politics after the Tunisian Revolution, I would like to quote Mahatma Gandhi about his 7 social and political conditions that will destroy us. As he said, they are wealth without work, pleasure without conscience, knowledge without character, commerce or business without morality or ethics, science without humanity, religion without sacrifice, and politics without principle. Mr. Minister, kindly share with us your views about ethical leadership.
Thank you very much, my dear friend Fadi Saab. Thank you, Mr. Chairman Baybars, for inviting me to such a distinguished panel. I really feel humbled to be part of this panel with the presence of Mr. President Professor Josipović, with Mr. Abdullah, His Excellency Mr. Abdullah bin Hamad Attiyah, knowing that I have been in oil and gas for 10 years, so I understand where you are coming from, with my friend Antonio, Your Excellency Antonio, and dear Minister Edward Chelsea. Really, you have been talking about 2 or 3 things which really resonate in my mind. Obviously, everybody will say, talking about education is the way to go. There is no doubt about it. You have been talking about COVID, and I just wanted to let you know that I am just out of COVID. I was attacked by COVID-19 over the last 2 weeks. Now it's about 15 days. And thanks to the knowledge and the doctors and the education of the doctors around me and my family, I'm safe. But unfortunately, it is not the case for everybody. So we are entering in a totally complex world. And to make this world again more complex, we are entering in a world where the technology, as you know, is playing a role, incredible role. So there is obviously, when we speak about governance and ethics, technology in theory is playing a very good role, which is basically transparency, accountability. I have been parliamentarian twice, and I know that everything I do, people see what I do and they communicate with me directly, and that makes me more closer to my constituencies. And even when I was in the ministerial job, kept the communication going. And the transparency is, the technology favor transparency. However, I would like to draw your attention to a danger that a lot of us start seeing, where technology does not play necessarily a good role. I'm not saying that we should scrap technology, obviously not, but the current democracy as we know it, as we see it, is somehow at threat by populism. By populism. And this populism is coming mainly from a lot of people using the social media to put some fake news and to derail the thinking process of our youngsters and direct them to one direction, and to create, to put in their mind some specific political views. And as you can see, as well as the election right now, even in very strong democratic countries, are kind of manipulated by the opinion makers through digital and all the social media exercise. And I mean, the scandals for that are a lot. So why am I saying this? I am a promoter of digital transformation, and we need to know, we need to be conscious that we are entering a world where everything is totally different. It's very complex. A world where the youngsters, our youngsters, they find themselves in this world, they can navigate this world much better than us. Therefore, what is our role? What is our role, and what is the WBAF role in this space? Thank you for the leadership of our chairman, Baybar. He collected, or he attracted, extremely good people from all over the world. People with principle, people who has experience. How can we link this experience with these youngsters and make sure that these people communicate together? And more importantly, what are the things which we need to pass from our generation to the next generation and to the next one? Why? Because we represent, why it is more important than what we think. We represent the old generation, which we believe in democracy and we believe in leadership the way you know it. But this democracy at threat today because of the technology, because of the use of social media, where they push people, the people who will be elected are more and more populistic. and it's natural facts that because they will be telling the people what they want to hear. They will be identifying them, each one what he wants to hear, and they send them the right message and for them to vote for them. But more importantly, the elite, the educated elite, will be kind of people the youngster will start to fear the elite, because they say the elite is the people who took us where we are today with these problems. So I'm not speaking about the youngster, I'm speaking the youngster who are not educated. So the ignorance, the non-educated people will fear the elite and therefore will vote more and more for populistic people. And that will bring the value down, the word down. So what is our role? I think our role as a World Business Angel Forum, with experienced people like yourselves, is to make the link with the new generation, the new business leader of the world, the startup community, to transfer to them, to discuss with them, to listen to them, to understand them, but also to pass to them some of the basics that don't change across the generation. And from that perspective, the fact that this committee, and thank you to the leadership of my friend Fadi, to have the code of conduct, the code of ethics, and we need physically to sign it, is of crucial importance for people to read it, because when they sign, they read what it is and they understand their principles. So we need to create that link. I'll give you a few examples. For example, when I invest in startups over the last few years, I start by invest, and then I do the due diligence. I don't do the other way around. I spend time with the people, I like the people, I invest a bit of money, and then through that relationship, I do the due diligence to find if these guys are ethical or not. If somebody comes after I helped them as a business angel, who gives them a better offer, if they will go because they have no legal paper with me, if they go and sign with somebody else. And that test, for me, saves me a lot of time, because if they are that quality of people or that less quality of people, by doing that, I only lose 1/10 of my future investment instead of losing the full investment. So I test the ethics of the people. I sign the paperwork only 3 months after I do the first investment. Why? Because I want to see my startups and the people I'm investing with, what are their ethics, what are their value system in terms of crisis, in terms of when they have offer from different sides. So that's one aspect that we need to pass to the new generation. The second one, which is here, it's a very small critique to us, is that we need more women in this committee, because we know that the less corrupt countries are the country run by women. So we need every one of us, and this is not to you, my friend Fadi, but every one of us need to suggest a woman to join this committee, a woman with your status to join this committee, because equality is part of our job. So I know that I am the last one. I really would like to leave you with 3 simple thoughts. We are entering into very complex world where everything will change. I am a swimmer myself, but if I was not a swimmer and I am more than 50 years old, if you throw me in a swimming pool, I will drown. I will not be able to swim. However, a kid just born, you throw him in a swimming pool, he will know how to swim. We are entering into a big swimming pool that we don't know how to swim in it. So let's give more and more importance to the youngsters who know how to navigate that system. So that's number one. And in this world, which is really extremely technological, let's not forget that the most important thing in the world, in a more and more technological world, that the human life is the most important thing. That's thought number one. Thought number two is we are entering in an interconnected world where all this currency, the dollar, the dirham, all the money you have in currency will disappear. Maybe not disappear in 10 years, it will disappear in 20, 30, 40 years. And the more this currency disappears, the more this currency will disappear, the richness is not about how many zero each one of us has in their bank. The richness is how much the youngsters and the rest of the world trust us. Therefore, the most important value is trust. And how trust comes? The trust comes from one important thing, which is your value system. The decision we are asked to make every day are more and more complex. And the only boussole, the only compass we have to make this decision or this decision, lock down or not lock down, give more money incentive to business people, don't give them more incentive or whatever. The only compass we have is our value system. And our value system has to be based on a shared ethics that we need all to propagate around us. These are three thoughts that I wanted to share with you, that we are entering in a complex technological world, but let's not forget that humanity is the most important things. The second thing, let's not forget that that richness is trust, is about the trust. And the third one, that our only compass is our value systems, and the code of conduct and the code of ethics that our group has made is a very good start for the rest of us, to propagate around the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Fihri. First, for being with us today and for these valuable comments. We certainly wish you a speedy and safe recovery. Just a quick remark, in our committee, more than 50% are women. It just so happens that on the board, we don't have enough women yet, and this will be the next challenge for Chairman Baybars and myself to work on. And thank you for pointing that out. Gentlemen, we still have a few minutes before closing our session, and I would like to make one final round among each one of you with one concluding remark in less than a minute for us to take home as we endeavor to become better ethical leaders. So let me start again with Professor Josipović, Mr. President.
So the world needs honest, uncorrupted, and to peace devoted leaders. Leader today means being completely sacrificing private life and devoting life to the community. So in my opinion, being leader is very, very responsible task. And I hope new generations will produce many, many good leaders, because we need them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Very interesting. Sheikh Attiyah, Your Excellency.
Allah al-alam, excuse me, sorry. What I repeat again and again, we need a new word concept. Anti-corruption, political agenda, it's clear, and how this whole international organization can do it. We can tackle it, and we can see, wait and see.
Shukran, thank you. Minister dos Santos.
Leader is someone that comes down up of the people like us, in politics, in business, everywhere. So we need to look down and find what kind of the solutions we need to prepare the people for that. Look at the young, prepare the young with the principals, with education, with the business schools, and so on. We need to look down to prepare to arrive at the top.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Minister Sharsi, we can't hear you. Mr. Sharsi, your mic, please.
I belong to a generation who have not seen and lived war, fortunately. But what we're facing now is a new kind of war. And unless we and deeply think over and over and over about not just what's going on, but what kind of lessons should we learn from COVID, but not from COVID. The world so far has to remodel, redesign, reinvent itself. And unless we properly draw the lessons, learn the lessons, and build, redesign new institutions, we're not going to go far. We have to change the way we look at things. We don't know what future may bring to us, but at least we now know what kind of challenges we may face. So it's a momentum to take advantage of what we lived as a threat. Probably next year, COVID will not be the same. We believe, we hope. We have to live and think like a new happening should find us more prepared.
Thank you. And this way we make it checkmate, of course. Minister Fahri.
Yeah, thank you. As a physicist, I tend to understand the importance of every particle, of every individual which constitutes the group. But also, as a politician, I understand the importance of the relativities and the proportional measures that we need to take for the new world. I have two thoughts. Trust more the youth and give them more power and let them lead us. And two, I would like to echo the last message of we need 21st century institutions, either by modernizing the 20th century institution or by creating new ones, because the existing ones do not answer, do not face properly to the current challenges. And maybe WBAF will contribute or is contributing to this. Thank you.
Thank you. I give the floor back to Chairman Baybars, but before doing so, I would like to thank each and every one of you for being with us. I've learned a lot from this exchange and look forward to seeing you again in our next board meeting. Chairman Baybars, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, dear Fadi. I think Mr. Minister of Qatar said something important. He said, Africa has everything, but they are suffering from everything. Middle East has good resources, but it is also suffering from different things. I think these two samples are not only in Middle East and Africa, by the way. In most places of the world, there are many resources, but people are suffering. So I think this is showing us the importance of ethical governance standards of excellence, and quality leadership. It is not enough you own resources. More important than resources is the quality leadership, standards of excellence, and ethical governance. And I think WBAF should invite all citizens of the world to demand from their policymakers, from their administrators, from their institutions, from their companies, the ethical governance, standards of excellence, and quality leadership. Then I think we are going to live in a better world. And then I think Africa will not be so poor. Middle East will not have so many problems. Venezuela is going to benefit from its own oil, etc., etc., etc. So I am thanking so much again to dear President of Croatia, dear Deputy Prime Minister of Portugal, dear Deputy Prime Minister of Qatar, dear Minister of Albania, dear Minister of Tunisia, because I really liked this roundtable, and this was a really beneficial, fruitful roundtable. I benefited very much, and I hope you redo it. And after putting to YouTube, I will personally share this roundtable in my network. So thank you very much for organizing this webinar and joining us, dear ministers, dear president.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye bye.